Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and today I'm going to put the Lake Oswego Stain Company, or it's a supplier, marina. They make a post-war Chris Craft red mahogany that I really like, and I've looked at it against my orange and white seats and black, and I really like it. So today I'm going to go ahead and do the deck and the seat frames, the dashboard, and the splash well that is where the motor sits and where the water goes in and then goes back out through the drains. And then, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and the hatch cover, which is already done. I did that before and did some corrections on my staining when I changed the plugs. So I wanted to make sure those were right. But the hatch was fine, and I didn't have to do anything with that. So what I'm going to do, I put it on with a chip brush. It starts to flash. I can see it kind of getting flat versus shiny. And then I hit it with just a cotton t-shirt. This is a thick one, full cotton that I got from Total Boat. And what I want to do is just make sure I rub it with a flat surface. I rub it like this, even though it's not a filling stain. This is a gel stain. I rub it to remove the excess. There, I made a line because I wasn't paying attention. I remove the excess in the direction of the grain. And that way, if I do have a line that I've created by not being careful with my t-shirt, it'll blend in better. So I'm just going to kind of work it till I get it to the way I like it. And I'm looking to avoid like a muddy spot where it's too thick. Then sometimes you can just rub it till you get it to the tone, which is what I did last time. I'm just going to keep going back and forth and looking at it. There's a lot of trim that goes on this boat. So here on the side and the stern. So even though I've got a little overlap on that black, it's going to be fine. This will also get stained on the inside, even though you won't see it. It'll be where the engine well slips in. There's a 3-panel engine well I made, a bottom and then 2 sides, which pop out with the magnets. They drop into the bilge, and then I can access the bilge in the running gear and things like that. So I'm going to continue to work on my stain, and I'll put a little time lapse for you. But it's going to be the whole boat. So I'll check back in when I get ready to finish up. I try to find hard edges. Like here, there's going to be trim, but I also don't have to maintain a wet paint line. So I did the whole back deck, and then did the front where the rear seat is backed. And now I can go back and pick up some of these other areas because it's on a hard corner. I don't have to worry about the blending as much. So I'm gonna just keep doing this. Even though these aren't gonna be seen, I'm gonna stain and varnish them like you would, because it's just, eventually I'll pull these out and show people what I did, or something like, why not have the interior areas as finished as well as you can too, even though they're going to be covered most of the time. And if there's a crack, like if the board is not perfectly joined, there'll be a stain layer back here that will also be brown. So even if it was not a perfect joint, you would be able to say, oh, look, it just kind of blends in, because it is also mahogany. So I'm going to rub this one out and then keep going. My rag is getting pretty close. having too much. Make sure I keep up on these areas I've already got finished. I don't want to have a dark spot. So when this gets full, it's pretty brown already. I'm going to go ahead and get another one because really it doesn't do me any good if it's full of stain. I'm not being able to remove anything from the surface, then kind of going backwards. So I need to go get one of those new ones that I have ready and keep going. Well, I'm making progress. I've got to just do this corner of the deck, and then I'm going to go ahead and climb into the boat. I can't really do a good job of staining out here. So I have to get in and do the dashboard and then the inside of the front seat backs. You can see that there's a kind of a, hey, why didn't he do the perimeter of the boat look? That's because, including this is a white stripe goes here, a big one, 4 or 5 inches, I think. And no sense putting stain on it, especially what you're paying for stain these days. No sense putting stain on something you're not even going to see. So I'm going to kind of leave, I go over a little bit, as you can see, just a little overlap. And then I'll go back when the stain sets. And then I put on, the next step for this will be to put the epoxy on and to set the stain and to protect it. And I will also do these light spots that I didn't do, because what I want to do is I want to seal the wood, regardless if it has stain on it or not. It's going to get epoxy in the next step. And that way, when I go to put the paint on, it'll be just like I did with the sides. I'll have this really nice surface that the epoxy created for the, not only for the paint to stick to, the white paint, but also the two-part varnish. So it really works out good that this boat has white lines around the shear and then down the middle. Because I do have that really nice epoxy going on, and then I'll have the varnish is also a two-part. So they'll get along really well. Part of the epoxy family, so I'm happy that that's gonna be how it works out. So when you see the white line goes on finally around the perimeter and the front, that'll really be a striking contrast, I believe. I've seen, if you look at the very first video, it showed what the boat looked like back in 2001 when I started it, the restoration. It had a lot of character, even though it was in terrible shape. I found it to be attractive, so I'm going to go back and do that. The only thing that this boat really is not going to have that it did have in the original was the seats. They had white seats that were, and in talking to the builder who built this in 1957, and he only did 2 like this boat. So you had a fiberglass hull, and then he put on plywood decks. And the difference is this boat had a hatch. So the only 2 of those that he did had hatches, and he didn't do very many, obviously. So this is why I bought it, knowing that it was a rare boat. There's only 3 Wondercrafts that I know to exist, and I own 2 of them. The other one is an all fiberglass 1960 version that he sold to Sears in Holland, Michigan, and they put an Elgin motor on it, which is a Sears brand motor. And I'm not sure who built. I think Scott built Elgin's. I think it's technically a Scott motor that has Elgin branding and colors on it. So Clyde sold it to them because it was a local store, and he was trying to sell boats. He was mostly a supplier to a small crowd, and they wanted one. So in addition to this one, there's that one, and then there's another one. It was in Saugatuck, Michigan, in one of these boat rental programs. I wish I could think of it. You probably know. And they have locations all over the U.S. So they move them around so that these vintage boats, which have been restored, and then they take the original motors and they leave them on there, and they replace the power heads with electrical units. So the boats are electric powered, but the outboard motor on them look like an old one, which is kind of a cool idea. So I know that's where the third one is. And my buddy and I found that boat in a field in the Holland area. We literally had to cut trees down to get to it and then drag it out of a very deep field of mud, and it was a spring recovery, but also it had been there many years. And so we were able to recover that. He did a beautiful restoration that then was sold to a couple owners, one in Florida, then it ended up in this livery in Saugatuck, or I think they have one in El Paso or San Antonio, something like that. I think there's one in Chicago too. So it gets around. It's a white and yellow Wondercraft that Clyde did. I think it was brown and white when it was built, and Darren ended up doing a Fighting Lady yellow with a white combination, which really came out nice. So you see it. It might not even have the branding of Wondercraft on the rear stern anymore. Um, you know, I think it got a refresh a couple years ago, and they might have not put the sticker back on. I'm not sure. I cannot wait to put my sticker on this. Where I have two stickers, had them made. In addition to the pennant that goes on the bow staff, I had to have those made because you just can't find those online. So I think I had 4 flags made, or pennants, and a couple of the sets of logo stickers for the stern, so there people can identify it. So, well, the deck is done, and the parts I can reach. So I'm going to climb into the boat now and get that dashboard done and those seats, and then call this project done. I've also decided that I'm going to do the backside of my splash well. These are the sides, and this is the bottom. So I'm going to put a coat on these. The hatch is good. I see a light spot. I might just, put the t-shirt on it with a little stain just to even it out. But other than that, I'm real happy with how things are coming along. With the Akume, a marine plywood, you can't really go wrong. But yes, you don't get the old ribbon grain that you used to get in the 1950s boats. The only ribbon you can get these days is Sapele, and it just isn't really suited for marine applications. It's more of a interior type thing, for cabinetry and furniture and things like that. It is beautiful, but it just is not. It wouldn't give me, even with the epoxy, I would not be confident enough. I think too that my experience with it on some smaller projects was that the veneers are thinner for some reason. It might be part of the marine thing, is to go ahead and do a thicker veneer. So I just don't trust it. So yeah, it's just sad that we can't get that kind of mahogany anymore. It certainly was beautiful. And when I take a deck off a vintage boat that had really nice ribbon plywood, it's just sad. You can't do anything about it. The one thing about this boat is it'll have a kume, so it has more of a swirly grain, but it also, with the white lines, it allows you to kind of fool the eye of the observer by, they follow the white lines and they kind of lose track of the grain of the wood. I do. So it's one of those things where, there's ways to get people to think it looks really good, even though you don't have that really nice ribbon anymore. The white lines will certainly help. And there's going to be so many other beautiful things to see on these boats, from the chrome to the, like the seats. I have an orange and white seat pattern that, well, while again, like I told you, it wasn't original. It was something that I've always really, really wanted to put in a boat. And I was at this famous marine supply place in Benton Harbor, Michigan called Wolf's, which some of you might have been able to enjoy. And they had an upholstery loft. They've moved it now. It's now easier to get at. And it was just this beautiful coral orange that I will show you in a few more videos when the boat is done, because we are getting really close to finishing this boat. I think you'll agree that the coral orange and the white, coupled with this kind of orangish mahogany stain that I chose. And most of the mahogany that you see on some of the boats that we're doing does have an orange tinge to it. And so that would be something that really, really worked out well for this boat, is that I can kind of get the stain and the color of the wood to also jive with the upholstery. I mean, I could have gone stark, like a stark red, blue, green, all white. But I really wanted to do something special. Since this was my boat, I kind of wanted to put, a little of my touch to it. And I figured I would never be able to sell this boat. I've got so much time and money into it, I probably would never be able to get out of it what I need. And I mean, my son Peter worked on this boat when he was like 3 years old. I mean, it's got a lot of sentimental value now to me and probably the family. And like I said, I've been working on it since 2001. It's got so much history in my family now that I probably will hold on to it at least for a while. I mean, if I got an obscene offer at a boat show or something, so be it. It's just one of those things where I'm going to restore boats that I like to work on, or customers' boats that are cool, and just find a way to sell them to another owner someday that have, they have a similar interest in the boat or appreciate what we've done to save it. Like I said, there's only 3 Wondercrafts known to exist, and I shouldn't. You know what? I need to correct myself. There is one owned by the Paul family. I remember that now. Just before I retired, I remember speaking with a Paul member who had it built when Clyde was doing boats. The family member had it built, and they still have it. So that's a boat I have yet to see. The photos look great. It's something that I'm really looking forward to, just checking it out. Part of it is it's a later model, so like late 50s, maybe even a 60. Clyde kind of called it quits in 1960. That's always been kind of the date that I've used as an end of the company, Paul Manufacturing, which sold the Wondercraft models. So yeah, someday I'll get the chance to look at that. Maybe when the weather improves in Michigan, I can go do that. It's not a good time of the year to be looking at old storage buildings, at old boats, with the way the temperatures are. So I'm gonna have to do that at a later time. So I'm gonna finish this up. As I look at the rest of the boat, I'm like, oh, this is a little lighter. I gave this a scratch because I wasn't sure it was dark enough, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a light coat of stain and just rub it in. Just try to blend it a little better than it was. Because this is my opportunity, I've got to take it. You can always go back and put more stain on, but if you can get it pretty close to the way you like it the first time, that's always preferred. All right, I'm going to put these on my little paint platforms and let them, this way top and bottom can dry. What do you think, is that? Yeah, I think I'll put a little more on this one too. Once you start messing with it, you gotta keep an eye on it. I went a little light on this one and heavy on that one. Another good thing about these panels is that they're all on different angles. So, for instance, the boat, you're at one angle. Gotta get that flat. It's on an angle, so you're not seeing color comparisons directly in conjunction to each other very often. I'm a lot happier with that. Now I'm gonna get my fingerprints off. The little things you forget to do when you're finishing up. There we go. All right, I'm gonna finish that up and we're gonna call this quits. Well, it's the next day and I'm really happy with how the stain came out. I was looking intently for misaligned scratches, things like that, when I did the final sand with 80 grit, so I could get it darker. You can use lighter sandpaper if you want the tone to be lighter. But that was a tone I kind of was after. And don't see anything obvious. There's a few things that, it's around the bungs that I was trying to get the halos to go away. But, it was just one of those things where you're going to have a little bit of a halo around your bungs. So it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one done. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're enjoying the channel and the videos that I'm presenting, please hit the subscribe button so you get the alerts when their videos are coming out, which are usually normally 2 a month, usually the first and third Wednesday morning of the month. And if you're enjoying to the point where you're getting something out of it and enjoying it through entertainment or learning something, please hit the like button. That's always nice to receive positive feedback. The next step will be for me to apply the high performance epoxy. High performance epoxy has a clear tone to it. It doesn't have a blush that you'll see in construction epoxy, so you won't get any sort of discoloration. You'll get only what you see now, but a little darker, obviously, because it'll be wetter. And I'll do the whole boat, dash, and vertical surfaces that need it, and then have that ready for the next step. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.